For thousands of years, the galaxy believed humans were only a story, a legend told by travelers sitting beside glowing reactor fires. They said humans once ruled the stars, fought wars that shook worlds, then vanished without a trace. The old ones called them dreamers, some called them monsters, but none had proof they were ever real. Their cities had turned to dust, their homeworld lost in forgotten maps. Empires rose after them. Proud alien races filled the void humans left behind. They built fleets, formed councils, and claimed to bring order to the stars. Yet deep inside, everyone feared the silence humans left then. One cold night on the edge of the Czarine Dominion, a small patrol ship caught an impossible signal. It was faint, rhythmic, and ancient, like a heartbeat echoing through space. Origin unknown, the navigator said, staring at the scanner. But the pulse looks biological, the captain frowned. Biological? In vacuum? The signal came from a shattered moon orbiting a dying red star. The moon was hollow, broken, and filled with strange metal readings no alien technology could identify. The Dominion sent research teams, ships, and drones. They expected ruins, but what they found beneath the dust froze their blood. Inside a massive crater lay a black structure, sharp like a blade, half buried in the rock. Its surface scarred but alive, symbols glowed faintly along its hull, letters no one had seen in ages. One scientist whispered, those markings, they match the pre-galactic archive, Earth language. Human, the crew laughed nervously. Impossible. Humans are myths, but the readings kept climbing. Energy levels rising as if the thing could hear them. Then the ground started to tremble. Dust lifted like smoke, and lights ignited across the black metal surface one by one. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the comms, distorted but clear. Terran command systems, reactivation in progress. Every ship in orbit panicked. Alarms screamed and the fleet began to retreat, but it was too late. The structure unfolded like a sleeping giant waking after a long dream, its shape transforming until the truth became clear. It was a warship, a Terran battleship, its hull blacker than the void, its size larger than anything the Dominion had ever built. The captain shouted, "Contact High Council. Tell them we have found a ghost!" From the surface, blue lightning erupted, tearing through the sky as the ship's engines roared to life for the first time in 10,000 years. The Dominion's sensors short-circuited, ships lost control, and one after another their systems went blind. Then came the sound, the old Terran war horn, a low metallic tone that vibrated through space, not through sound but through fear itself. Every commander in the Dominion fleet stood frozen, staring at the ancient machine as a voice followed. Deep, cold, human. This territory belongs to the Terran Federation. No one understood what the message meant. Not yet, but the old archives spoke of that name. It was the empire that once ruled 1,000 worlds before it vanished in fire. Across the galaxy, news spread faster than light. Every empire, every species, every syndicate asked the same question. Could it be true? Had humanity returned? The Czarine High Council ordered the artifact seized and brought to their capital for study. But their order was never completed, because before their transports arrived, the sky above the dead moon ripped open, a dark gateway emerged, smooth, round, and humming with power older than civilization itself. Through that gate, shadows moved, then light. Then something enormous stepped out, a fleet, rows of black armored warships bearing the same glowing symbols as the one on the moon. The Dominion ships aimed their weapons, trembling. "Identify yourself!" Their commander shouted. A reply came instantly, calm and powerful. "This is Fleet Admiral Ilara Vance of the Terran Federation. Stand down." The Dominion commander whispered to himself, "Humans are real." And then, without firing a shot, the Terran fleet advanced, their engines pushing waves of light across the void, their hulls carved with battle scars from wars no living race remembered. As the largest battleship passed by the Dominion flagship, the alien crew felt small for the first time, not because of power, but because of presence. That human ship didn't need to fire to show strength. It was strength, built from forgotten fury, from a species that refused to stay dead. In that moment, the myth became truth, the forgotten became real, and the galaxy realized it had woken something it could never put back to sleep. Humanity had returned, not as a legend, but as a storm. The galaxy trembled that day. Entire empires paused their wars, trade routes went silent, and the name human returned to every tongue, whispered in fear and awe. On the capital world of the Czarine Dominion, chaos erupted, leaders argued, generals demanded answers. Scientists replayed the same footage again and again. The massive Terran warship rising from the broken moon, its engines humming like thunder in space. No one wanted to believe it, yet no one could deny what they saw. The markings, the voice, the technology, all unmistakably human. For centuries, the archives had listed humanity as extinct, destroyed in their final civil war, consumed by the fire they themselves created. But now, the impossible had arrived at their doorstep. The Dominion High Council sent fleets toward the sector, hoping to establish contact or perhaps to prove the relic false. Yet every ship that entered the area vanished from radar. Some say they were destroyed, others said they simply disappeared, swallowed by the dark gate that hung above the dead moon like a wound in space. Then, 3 days later, the message came. Every broadcast channel across the Dominion went black. Screens flickered, and a single transmission overrode all frequencies. The image was static at first, then cleared to reveal a woman in dark armor, standing on the bridge of a massive ship, her eyes cold and bright as starlight. "I am Admiral Ilara Vance of the Terran Federation," she said, her voice calm, steady, each word carrying weight that made even soldiers freeze where they stood. "We have returned, not to conquer, but to reclaim what was once ours." The room fell silent. Leaders across the galaxy watched in disbelief. The Admiral continued. "For 10,000 years we slept, our fleets hidden in the void, our people scattered among forgotten worlds. But now the stars call us home." Her gaze hardened. "To those who desecrated our ruins, who mined our dead worlds, who mocked our memory, you have trespassed upon the ashes of humanity, and you will answer for it." The screen cut to a wide shot of the Terran fleet, thousands of ships, black and silver, their hulls alive with energy patterns that pulsed like beating hearts. The ships moved in perfect silence, each one larger than the Dominion's greatest dreadnought, each one radiating quiet power. A mechanical voice followed. Message encoded. Broadcast complete, and then the transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in silence once more. Within hours, panic spread. Minor empires began closing borders, pirate clans vanished into hiding, and the great powers of the galaxy started building new alliances against humanity. But deep down, every leader knew the truth. This was not a new war. This was something older, something inevitable. On the outer rim, traders spoke of human scouts seen landing on forgotten planets, searching ruins, retrieving artifacts. It was as if humanity was piecing together a memory scattered across the stars. Meanwhile, inside the Terran fleet, Admiral Ilara walked through the command deck, her eyes scanning the holographic map filled with 1,000 glowing dots, each one a lost human colony. "Are the coordinates verified?" she asked. Her AI companion responded, "Yes, Admiral." The signal from Terra Prime grows stronger. Her lips tightened. "Then it's true, Earth still breathes, far away." Beyond the dark gate, a small blue planet shimmered faintly in the void, its surface hidden under layers of dust and silence, yet its heart pulsed weakly, calling to those who once left it behind. The Terran fleet turned toward that signal, engines glowing, cutting through the darkness behind them. The Dominion fleet tried to follow, but their ships fell apart one by one, crushed by the gravitational field the humans left in their wake. The galaxy realized then that humanity's technology was beyond anything they had seen. Not magic, not science. It was something in between. Born of understanding and fury, every scientist, every ruler, every soldier asked the same question. If they've returned, what do they want? And the answer came not from words, but from the old Earth proverb that echoed in their ancient data archives: "Do not wake what sleeps beneath the stars." Because humanity was not just back. They were remembering, rebuilding, and reclaiming. The myth was no longer myth. The forgotten ones had returned, and the galaxy could only wait, breathless and terrified for what came next. The Terran fleet glided through the silent dark, their engines glowing like dying suns. The black hulls of their warships reflected no light, only the cold emptiness of space. They moved with purpose, ancient and precise, cutting through the void toward a single point on the galactic map, the signal that called them home. For millennia, Earth had been lost, wiped from all charts, dismissed as myth, a fable told by wanderers who claimed to have seen a blue world through broken telescopes. But now that forgotten planet had spoken again, its voice faint but real, and the Terrans were listening. Admiral Alara Vance stood on the command bridge of the flagship TFS Eternity, her hands resting on the console as stars drifted past like ghosts. "Report," she said quietly, her voice steady, her tone commanding yet calm. Her science officer turned, eyes wide. "The signal source is confirmed, Admiral. It's coming from the Sol system. Coordinates match the ancient Terran records." A silence followed. Heavy, sacred, even the ship's AI spoke softly. "After 10,000 years, home awaits." The fleet entered the Sol system cautiously, scanning every planet, each one a relic of a long-dead age. Mars was dust, Venus burned like a furnace, and Jupiter's moons were shattered. But then, the scanners found it, the third planet, half covered in clouds, scarred by past wars, yet unmistakably alive. "Earth," Alara whispered, her voice breaking for the first time. The word felt heavy, ancient, beautiful. As they approached orbit, their sensors picked up faint power readings from beneath the planet's crust. Old Terran energy signatures still pulsing weakly. "Admiral, something's down there," the officer said. A bunker, deep under the surface, still operational. The fleet locked position above the planet, and a small dropship descended through the clouds, piercing storms and radiation belts until it reached the silent ruins of a once great city. The landscape below was haunting. Skyscrapers turned to bones of steel, oceans reduced to ash-gray plains, yet something still lived within the dust. The dropship landed near the ruins of an old capital, a massive crater where the Terran Central Command once stood. Alara stepped onto the surface, her armored boots sinking into soft earth. She looked around, her breath fogging inside her helmet. "This is where it ended," she said softly. "And maybe where it begins again." As the team moved forward, scanners began to spike. A hidden door opened beneath the ruins, revealing an ancient lift leading deep underground. They followed it, descending for miles until the air changed, and the walls began to glow with faint blue light. Old Terran tech awakening after ages of silence. At the bottom, they reached a vast chamber filled with dormant machines, glowing in rhythm with a slow, steady pulse, almost like a heartbeat. Alara approached a console covered in dust, brushed her hand across it, and the screen flickered alive, displaying an old Terran emblem, a silver eagle wrapped around a blue planet. Then a voice spoke from the chamber's core, old, tired, yet still human. "Identity confirmed, Admiral Alara Vance." "Welcome home," the soldiers froze, eyes wide. "It's an AI," one whispered. The voice continued, "You are the first of our kind to return. We have waited, preserved, repaired, and guarded what remained." Alara looked around as lights filled the chamber, revealing rows of cryopods, millions of them, each holding a sleeping human, perfectly preserved. Tears filled her eyes. "They're alive," she whispered. The AI's voice softened. "Humanity never died, Admiral. We endured." In silence, in patience, waiting for our children to return, Alara placed her hand on the glass of one pod, staring at the peaceful face inside. "We thought we were alone," she said, her voice trembling. "You were never alone," the AI replied. "You just forgot where to look." Above the planet, the Terran fleet stood guard, their beacons lighting up as the signal from Earth grew stronger, pulsing across the galaxy like a drumbeat of war and rebirth. Every empire that once doubted humanity now watched the signal in horror. They knew what it meant. Humanity was no longer a myth. No longer scattered, no longer sleeping. Earth had awakened, and with it, every Terran warship answered the same command: reclaim the stars. And as the first dawn broke over the scarred horizon of Earth, the sleeping millions began to stir, their eyes opening to a new age, the age of humanity reborn. The return of Earth spread across the galaxy like wildfire. No one slept, no one ignored it. Every news channel, every transmission, every council spoke one word again and again: humans. On the capital worlds of the great empires, fear replaced pride. Old stories once told as jokes now sounded like warnings. Children's tales of Terran warships destroying moons, of humans who fought gods and won, were suddenly not so funny anymore. The Zareen Dominion, who had first discovered the sleeping Terran ship, sealed all information, but it was too late. The broadcast had already reached the farthest corners of known space. In the halls of the Serax Alliance, alien diplomats shouted at each other. They were extinct. One cried, "Impossible," said another. But no one could deny the images of the fleet rising above Earth. The Galactic Council called an emergency summit. Thousands of species gathered under one roof. Leaders who once fought each other now sat together, bound by a single fear: the humans. High Chancellor Varric of the Drevek Empire slammed his clawed hand on the table. "We must act before they expand again," he growled. "If humanity rebuilds, none of us will stand a chance." Others argued that peace should be tried. "Maybe they only want their home," said the gentle voice of the silent representative. But deep down, none truly believed it. Across the stars, fleets began to move. Not toward Earth, but toward defense lines. Toward border systems. Every empire raising its shields and training its guns toward the void. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Terran Federation had awakened in full. The cryo-chambers were opening, people stepping out, pale and confused, seeing a sun they thought they would never see again. Admiral Alara stood before them, her voice steady. "You have slept for 10,000 years. But humanity has endured. Our world stands, our fleet stands, and the galaxy will remember us." The people cheered weakly, still disoriented, but hope burned in their eyes. A fire that once made humanity unstoppable. The AI who guarded the bunkers spoke again. "Admiral, I have processed galactic communications. All major empires have declared military readiness against us." Alara did not flinch. She looked up at the stars beyond the ceiling hologram. "Of course they have," she whispered. "They fear what they do not understand," the AI responded. "They fear what they cannot defeat." On the outer colonies, Terran drones reactivated ancient shipyards. Automated factories began to roar again, building ships faster than any known empire could dream of. Human engineers worked side by side with the AIs, reviving lost designs: the Leviathan-class dreadnoughts, the Skyhammer cruisers, the Valkyrie dropships, weapons that once changed the balance of power in the galaxy. But Alara knew war would not come from them first. It would come from fear, from panic, from those who could not accept that humanity had returned. She gathered her officers aboard the TFS Eternity. "They will come for us soon," she said quietly. "And when they do, they will see what legends are made of." Far away, in the depths of the Zerine Dominion, a secret message was intercepted. It was from the Drevek Empire to all major powers. "Form a united fleet," it said. "Strike Earth before it strikes us." Whispers turned to orders. Orders turned to movement. And soon, the stars filled with fleets. Hundreds of thousands of alien warships forming the largest alliance ever created. They called it the Coalition of Survival. Their goal simple: to erase humanity once and for all. Before it was too late, yet as they gathered, something else stirred in the darkness beyond their sensors. Unknown ships, silent and cloaked, moved between the stars, watching, recording, waiting. On the bridge of her flagship, Admiral Alara received the transmission from a forward scout. Her eyes narrowed. "So they plan to strike first," she said coldly. Her second-in-command replied, "What are your orders, Admiral?" Alara turned slowly toward the window, Earth glowing blue beneath her feet. "Send a message to every Terran ship," she said, her voice like steel. "Prepare for contact, and remind them who we are." The AI's lights flickered. "Message ready, Admiral," Alara nodded. "Then send it, across the galaxy, on every Terran frequency." One phrase echoed through the void, ancient, powerful, and full of unshakable resolve. "From Earth we rose, to Earth we return, and from Earth we defend." The stars trembled once more, and the galaxy realized its worst nightmare had come true. Humanity was united, awakened, and ready. The stars were never quiet again. Fleets moved through the dark like storms of steel. The airless void burned with the heat of engines older than time. The alien coalition had arrived. Thousands upon thousands of warships gathered outside Earth's system, their lights blotting out the stars, their leaders speaking in trembling tones. "For survival," they said. "For the galaxy." From the bridge of the TFS Eternity, Admiral Alara watched the endless swarm of ships through the wide glass, her expression calm, unreadable. "They think numbers will save them," her second-in-command whispered. "They think they can drown us," Alara nodded slowly, her eyes fixed on the swirling mass of enemies. "They have forgotten what it means to face humanity," she said, her voice steady. "Remind them, below, on Earth." The skies shimmered as the ancient defense network awakened. Massive orbital cannons powered by fusion hearts roared to life, and the blue planet glowed like a living weapon. The first alien fleet entered orbit confident, firing beams of plasma and energy bolts that lit up the heavens. But the attacks vanished against invisible shields. The Terran defense grid had activated, technology beyond their understanding, forged in the last age of human glory. Then came the human reply. A single Terran battleship moved forward, its hull glowing with ancient runes. The TFS Leviathan, a ship said to have fought entire wars alone. Its cannons older than the empires themselves. When it fired, space itself rippled. A beam of light so bright it cut across the darkness, splitting enemy cruisers in half like paper. One shot, one world of ships gone. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. The coalition panicked. Their formations broke. Commanders shouted orders that no one could follow. Ships colliding, weapons firing blindly. Ilara stood unshaken. They came here believing myths, she said quietly. Now they will meet the truth. The Terran fleet moved as one. Silent, precise, unstoppable. Dreadnoughts slicing through enemy lines. Smaller ships dancing between debris. Terran AIs coordinated every move, predicting enemy tactics before they happened, adapting faster than any organic mind could dream. The battle lasted hours, but to humanity, it felt like a heartbeat. The void burned with wreckage. The light of dying stars reflected off Terran armor, and the coalition realized they were not fighting a species. They were fighting history itself, on the flagship of the Dravak Empire. High Chancellor Varric stared at the destruction, his voice shaking. No species should have this power, he whispered. Ilara's transmission came through his main screen, her face calm, her tone like ice. You called this a war for survival, she said. You were right, but not yours. Moments later, her ships opened fire again, and the Dravak flagship vanished in white light. When the battle ended, the coalition was no more. The survivors fled into the deep void, their empires broken, their courage shattered. The galaxy lay silent once more, and for the first time in ages, the stars looked upon humanity not as legend, but as truth. On the surface of Earth, the people watched the night sky burn and fade, knowing they had reclaimed their place among the stars. Admiral Ilara stood at the edge of the command deck, staring at the blue curve of her world, her reflection in the glass mixing with the stars beyond. Status report, she said softly. All enemy forces neutralized, the AI replied. Human casualties minimal. Fleet intact. Ilara nodded slowly, then whispered. Then the age of silence is over. She turned to her officers, her voice clear and strong. Begin the reconstruction protocol. Rebuild our colonies, reclaim our worlds. Let the galaxy know humanity has returned. Outside, the Terran fleet formed into a massive formation, their engines lighting up the void like suns. The warships moving together in quiet, perfect harmony, and somewhere, deep within the ruins of the last enemy outpost, a transmission echoed faintly through the dark. A frightened whisper carried on static. They were never gone, the voice said. They were only waiting, and in that endless night, as the Terran banners rose once more above the stars, the legend of humanity became a promise, not of conquest, not of revenge, but of remembrance. For the galaxy had feared their return, but what they truly awoke was destiny.